decides to do it.
Evening guys, welcome to episode 5 of the review show. This is FishervAllen 2 we're reviewing, joined by myself, CJ Spade. We've got a special guest tonight in Abbas. Abbas, thank you for joining us, mate.
No, I appreciate you guys for letting me come on as well. Proper northern gathering today.
Usual suspects as well, guys. We've got Eric ERF boxing, my top man, and Ricky down there, the answer stone. Boys, hope you're all well. How are we doing?
Yeah, good, very good. Ricky?
Yeah, I'm all good. I like the intro though, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not a show if I don't mess up once, but we normally go to the promo, but the promo was done before the show started. You know, I was thinking ahead of the game, guys. Don't you worry, I didn't want to miss time because I'm excited about talking about this card. Well, the main event in particular, but the card especially. But let's if we just dip into the chat straight away. For CJ.
Right, guys, we've got Mr. Neutral tuning in as always. Thank you, Mr. Neutrals. But evening, guys, you legends. Ra, evening, Ra. Thank you for tuning in, mate. You're always a top commenter on this. Yorkshire looks happy tonight. Well, I'm in a different part of Yorkshire, if I can call it that. No, I'm actually in Bath.
It's where all the bald people from Yorkshire go.
When they need a new set of ashes and all.
and some hair.
Yeah, man, definitely. I could do with a bit of a Malden, to be fair.
Oh God! Yes. But yeah, this weekend just gone. A good card in all. The main event delivered. Not how many people thought it would go, but we'll go through the card, Ricky. If you want to go through the undercard on this one.
We can do indeed. I was tuned into is it Shannon Ryan, who CJ run about as well. She was quite impressive, and I tell you what, like that girl or woman, she's built like a wrestler. She has got neck muscles that I could only dream of, man. Like she's built. She did really well. She picked her shots well. She looked strong, like a bull. I feel like the right guidance in her career, she could be pretty big trouble in her division. But I was impressed with her. I thought she was really good.
She was very strong, I thought, very sharp. I loved actually watching her box when she got into a rhythm and she got up onto her toes. When she boxed at range as well, it was just lovely to watch. The shots were coming through. It was very, even though obviously she's like a season pro now as well. I think that was the ninth bout. It was very Olympic boxing style, you know. Bob, you could hear the snapping of punches. You could get the rhythm of it. It was really good to enjoy. But her opponent, as much as she was outclassed, she was there through every round and made it competitive. That's what made the fight. You know what I mean? She had a tough fight on her hands with Shannon Ryan, and after losing to Dolan, I think it was, she needs to keep rebuilding. She needs tough fights before whatever she's planning to do with the rest of her career.
I tell you what else she does well as well. She turns her opponent quite well. She's got that nice little turn, so she's able to open up angles and open up the defensive through that way. And she selects her shots well enough on the turn to be able to create those gaps. So yeah, I was really impressed with her, to be fair. Like.
Yeah, I didn't. I was out, so I missed a few of those fights. The Shannon Ryan one I missed. I didn't quite catch. We had what's the next fight on the slate? You got.
I got Buttigieg. Is that how you say his name? Buttigieg. Buttigieg.
I think they all said it different. All commentators through the corner. Everyone said it really different. I wanted to know how to say that.
Chip Butty boy. I thought he's like obviously he's been quite active as well, like compared to some of the other up and comers. His jab, I felt like came back quite low whenever he threw that, and he was getting caught with some overhands. But other than that, he controlled the range well. He works the body, and he got quite. I think we're in an early stoppage, weren't it? That which was unlike him because he hadn't really been stopping when he was like he hadn't stopped the last couple anyway. I don't think. But again, another impressive performance to say like the show before and the weekend on the Queensbury card had quite a bit of a dull prelim card, whereas these guys they all performed pretty well. I'm quite looking forward to Buttigieg's journey, if I'm honest, because he seemed like I say he's active enough. He wants it. It looks like he's developing well each time he comes out and fights as well. So, Butty boy, I'm going to watch for the future definitely.
I'm glad you said Butty, not Batty boy. Then.
Yeah.
I'm not calling him a batty boy, mate. No chance. Not young enough. I'm not young enough.
Abbas, who did you enjoy on the undercard, mate? We're not used to obviously having you on the show, so
Yeah, I'll be very honest. I didn't really catch the undercard, so I didn't really have much chance to catch that. I did see the first fight of the main card, and I'm right. It's Jimmy Saints. Is that his name?
Oh, Jimmy
Saints, yeah.
So I did catch some of his fight, and to be fair, obviously getting into this one, 9 fights, 9 KOs. First time he went the distance. So, and it's first time, if I'm not wrong, when he's fought someone with a positive record. So, it's good to see that bit of a step up because at the end of the day, it's showing that, okay, you can get wins or knockouts against guys that don't have a winning record, but let's see what you can do now. And if you look at the division, again, it's a 160 out middleweight. We need a bit of fresh blood there. So, as a division, I always say the 160 to 168 division, they're the 2 divisions where you look at in terms of the bigger guys, where we need a bit more of that British stuff as well. Obviously, take away Hamza Shiraz and Chris Eubank Jr., I don't see a lot of substance. So, again, good way to kick a card off. You go the distance for your first fight. So it's just be interesting to see where he can go. But the rest of the card, I didn't really follow too much outside of the main event. But it is something I do want to have a conversation with as well when it comes to Matchroom and British cards going forward. But I'll let you guys carry on with the rest of breaking it down before I have a little piece on Eddie Hearn and where I think his strategy is going forward.
Yeah, to be fair, that'll be a good touch because we spoke on that last week of how the British scene, Eddie Hearn at one point he owned that British scene and the cards we've stacked, they were really good competitive cards, and at the moment it just all seems like A-side cards where he's just building up his prospects. I did catch the Conway fight. I think he got the stoppage. He got the stoppage.
Round 4, I think.
Round,
third round. It says it there, isn't it, actually? Third round.
Yeah, third round. Got the stoppage in the third round. What did you make of that fight, Rick?
I enjoyed it. I thought, to be fair, we sort of, we didn't slag him off, but we had a bit of a gripe about Warburton, the bread maker, and I thought that first round he performed really well. I felt like he controlled the round. He was picking his shots well. Conway maybe looked at it, probably feeling out process more than anything. But after that, he obviously took charge of the fight. He was working. He was strong. He looked really strong. And like CJ mentioned that comment last week, that Conway, as he's getting older, seems to be getting a bit more power in his shots as well. And you could tell that from every shot that was landing when he did land. I thought he did really well. And I'm excited for the fight that has set up with Lidard, because they announced on the show as well that those 2 guys are going to have it out. And that, for me, is a fucking nice fight to make.
And that's also a middleweight, right? So you've got you've got that's where Jimmy Saints wants to be. So moving up the levels, but the Conway fight, I caught that. I rewatched it on the Zone. I managed to rewatch that one. Like you said, Warburton, he came in the first round. He was in front of Conway. It was a competitive first round, but then it seemed like Conway came out second round, sort of wobbled him in the second round, and you could see Conway was getting to his body. The third round, he poured it on and he ended it quite in good fashion. Good body shots. I think he got an uppercut in there as well, if I've got the right one. But yeah, good performance by Conway for me.
I thought he looked brilliant. I really did. He's really. I think he's coming into his best now later on in his career. Not that he'd had a poor career at the start. I mean, he was very talented in some very good fights, sort of 217 to 219. But yeah, Ricky mentioned it. I touched it last week. It seems like he's coming into his power. Maybe just sitting down on his punches that little bit more. Maybe he's got a bit more venom. But he looks dangerous. I wouldn't take too much from the Warburton as opposition. That's no disrespect to him. I just think he was very, very outclassed in there. Lidard, that's going to be a good fight. I hope that gets nailed. Obviously, I think Lidard sort of we're more or less asking for it, screaming for it at the end, saying he feels like Conway's a bit avoiding him a little bit this week because that's what they're going for. Lidard, to me, I won't jump over because we'll go through his fight, but Lidard, way too much for his opponent. Took his time, he looked well, he boxed well, but he's going to be in with a whole different monster when he gets in there with Kieran Conway. That's going to be a very, very big difference. It's going to be a big difference from both, but particularly Conway with his experience might be a bit of a different story on that one. But he's definitely not going to get his own way, be able to pick his punches like he did with his opponent. Sutton, I think he was called at the weekend.
Yeah, it was one of those as well where I kind of thought like Sutton, when he stuck to his boxing, he boxed quite well. Obviously, there weren't the same venom in the shots, but when he got dropped, that I feel like he threw his tactics out the window a little bit, and he was trying to like sort of almost trade with Lidard, and I just thought that was very, very ballsy.
He looked like he was trying to match the punch output.
Yeah,
but every time George landed, it hurt him. Whereas Sutton, his shot accuracy was poor. He was throwing, but he wasn't landing anything. I think he was just trying to keep Lillard busy, but every time he landed, he got hurt. I think after the first 2 rounds, Lillard sort of knew he could hurt him at any point, so he sort of went for a different tactic to so he can start landing that shot, so Sutton's not used to it. And Sutton, he tried to move, but it was as if his legs wouldn't work. He'd move for 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden he'd start trading again. But Lillard was too good for him. I think he took his time, he picked him off, and once he got dropped in that 5th round, I think the corner did the right thing to throw in the towel.
Go
on.
He was taking quite a bit of punishment towards the end, weren't he? And he weren't like say every now and again you need a plan B, and his plan B seemed to be slug it, and it just weren't a great plan B. Plan A seemed like the better tactics, and maybe try. When he got hurt, he probably needed that experience to probably stay on the back foot, come away, gather yourself, get your thoughts right, get your like, I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but just try and get yourself right while you're still on shaky legs. But obviously he didn't want to do that. He thought he just wants to tough it out, and every now and again when you're not a big puncher, I know like one shot can change anything, but his record speaks for itself, and I don't think he had the power or the quality to get Lidard out of there. But on those 2 boxers, Conway, Lidard, who would you have in that fight? Because it's quite a close fight for me. Who would you give the edge?
Go on, Abbas.
I'll be very honest with you guys. I'm still very young in the British scene. Call me back when you want to do an American show, because the guys will know. I'm a psychopath when it comes to American boxing, especially from the youth side. I always say this. I know people look at him as a superstar now, but I was awake at midnight when Shakur Stevenson was on the Top Rock undercards, and no one knew who this man was. But that's why, like, this is the first time I've sat in the show for 15 minutes where I've hardly spoken, because I can listen to you guys. I'm actually enjoying being able to listen to you guys before I give my points on the points that I have to give. But no, I wouldn't really be able to comment on this. But hey, listen, if there's an American card and anyone needs me there, like when we get Edgar Berlanga, Hamza Shiraz, I'm there for the full card and I'm ready to do it. And I also fall into that trap of Americans and the way they just do something better.
It's very hard not to do, because I've done it as well. As much as I'm surprised, it's because of these 2. To be honest, I've managed to keep in like the British scene, and keep an eye on it and like keep into it, because the American scene, there's so much drama in the American scene. That's the thing. It's so dramatized that it pulls you in. Everything pulls you in. Where it's less fighting, more drama. But when you come to the British scene, it's more fighting, less drama, which is what we love as boxing fans anyway. We want to see the fights, but it's just that the Americans are loud and go on.
And it kind of goes to this point that I have, like, for me, when I look at British boxing, not completely, but there'll be cards like what we just had on the weekend, where if you're there live, you will probably enjoy that bell to bell. But if you're at home, you are probably going to tune in for the main event, and that's it. And a little bit is an issue where do the promoters really care? And also, I think a certain element is fighters will probably look at the fact that if I can just slot myself on a Riyadh season undercard or a big Ring magazine card, whether it's at a stadium or not, or whether the fans are piling on, financially, the incentive is there for me to do that as well, which you can't blame certain fighters for wanting to be on them cards. But it's a case of the profile of some of the guys that are on these cards. It's hard for outside of being a local fan or a genuine fan of that person to want to tune in. So I think that's also an issue, but it goes back to that promoter side of things as well. Like, if you're just giving us the main event and you're pushing that main event to us, a lot of the guys, including myself, who, like you said, we sit here, we talk about boxing, we watch about boxing, but how much of us do we really care about a lot of the undercard? And that goes to the promoter a little bit as well, because I don't think Eddie really overly cares about the UK market. Of course, he's got some guys. Obviously, they announced on the day as well, which for me, it just made me laugh. Like, you had Jack Cattrall come down from Manchester to do a face-off in London just to then head back into Manchester, talk about doing a shift. But you announced that fight. I think William Crawler's on the undercard as well. But that will appeal to someone like me because I'm up north. So I have that interest into that card from bottom to top. Whereas for this card, I probably don't. I just care about the main event.
Yeah, it's we'll speak on that actually, because we all three of us here have a gripe with promotion and how the promotion's been since Turkey's got into the game. Obviously, for the top guys, the American guys, the top UK guys, the promotion's brilliant for them. But on the British scene, there seems to be no promotion at the moment. But before we get into that, CJ, do you want to read comments, because we've got quite a few from Ra especially as well.
You want to load them up onto the screen, and I'll
I'll load them up. Go on.
Right, so Libs just straight grilling us with a Bass. You need to wear a cap to join the Yorkshire Cap gang.
I have a John Cena hat if I can put that on.
Put it on.
Yeah, go for it.
You know what? Give me 2 minutes. I'm on my way. Give me 2 minutes. I'm on my way.
Eddie still won't budge from his policy of expecting prospects to move fast. He does seem to. He does like to rush them, doesn't he, sometimes? But then at the same time, how many careers has he made, Eddie? Do you know what I mean? He's had some absolute superstars coming up from starting and pushing them.
Do we need some more activity though as well from these prospects? Because it's like certain times, because I do, a minute I do. It's like I want to see more activity from these prospects up and coming. Like, there used to be fighters that used to fight once a month. Like, I want to see that again. I want to see
that
people promoting themselves.
Yes.
Chain gang.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
No, but that Butterbeard, he fought a month ago. He fought last month, fought again this month. If he fights again next month or in 2 months' time, it's perfect for a prospect. That's what they need to do. Activity is key for prospects. They move away from the amateur games where they're fighting consistently. They're fighting a few fights a week or whatever it is in tournaments. And then they end up turning pro, and the activity is not there. They end up wasting themselves in the gym for so long, and that's why you end up with a lot of gym fighters
wasting away.
Go on then, CJ. Some more comments.
Conway might not be exciting, but he is sure very seasoned pro. Yeah, and that's what I think. That's what I think we've all added to that. You know, he's not. Well, do you know what? Actually, though, that was an exciting performance, though, wasn't it? Again, I know the opposition weren't fantastic, but seeing him absolutely leathering someone like that just shows that Conway has matured and he is exciting now. And I think if he goes into a dust-up with Lidard, I think they're going to be going for power out there. I think they are. They're going to go for pound and round for round, and who's going to win that? That's the point of that fight, I think.
I quite liked his style as well. I thought it was quite entertaining fight. In fact, we didn't even do the prediction. Lidard, Conway, who wins? Quickly, quick fire.
Conway.
I'm going Lidard. From what I saw, Lidard, because one main reason is because the opponent what Conway had, CJ ripped him from pillar to post before.
The bread maker.
CJ ripped him from pillar to post. So I wasn't expecting much from him. I think I picked a 3rd round stoppage actually in the prediction league. I'm sure I picked a. I'm sure I picked a 3rd round stoppage, so I got it bang on. I think so. I might have picked 2nd. But so yeah, I'm going with Lidard. I liked his performance. He had his guy hurt. He was patient enough not to go all out, take his time, and then when it was time to up it again, he did that. So I'm got Lidard on that. Obviously, Abbas don't know too much about these guys, so we'll get back to that a little closer to the time. CJ, you want to continue?
Yeah, Ralph saying Sainz could end up going against Udofia. That's Linus Udofia, another very seasoned dad pro. And these are the fights that these guys need. So yeah, like you said, you'll be Sainz, brilliant on paper if you're looking. What I think he was 9-9 going into that knockouts. But if he hasn't had an opponent with a winning record yet, this is when you start to see the difference. Udolph is not going to go in there to get walked over. He still thinks he's in a running for for domestic levels. So that will be a very good fight if that gets made. I'll be excited for that one.
That to be fair, I want to give props to that Gideon as well, because I thought he actually came to win that fight, and he was really fit. Like with the right guidance and right proper coaching. I don't know how serious he takes it, but I thought he could be a bit of a problem in the role he plays. It was a tough night. Like Sainz couldn't get him out of there. Sainz were hitting him with some big shots, big puncher. So, but it will be interesting to see. I think Abbas touched on it as well. Will he be able to keep that power as he starts fighting these better fighters with more winning records? So it'll be interesting to see how his power gets tested in that manner. But yeah, he's got a bright future, that Jimmy Sainz.
Can I just quickly say, Abbas, there's a bit of a running joke on our show that I'm not very technically gifted when it comes to technology. So I went and bought these wireless headphones, right? And I'm having a nightmare. I don't know what's going on. I feel like they're falling out of my head. I don't know how you cope with them. I don't know what's going on. So if you can't hear me, I do apologize.
You're fine.
Listen, all I'm going to say is when I first got AirPods, it took me a while to settle them in my ear. That's all I'm going to say. But now they're in English.
I'll hold my hands up, mate. These are from Turkey Market next door. These, I don't know what they're called. I feel like I've got massive earrings in. I don't know what's happening.
Stretchers.
Oh, good. Who else we got? We got Rara again saying Tyler versus Thompson ordered as a final eliminator. Who's that? Tyler Denny? Who are we talking about?
I don't know that one. I'm not too sure.
Was he even on card?
No. I'm not sure. About Stay Waiting.
Come on, Ryan. We're talking about the card.
Trey said. Yes,
Go on, Trey.
Go on, CJ.
Trey, yes, the Yorkshire lads all-star performance. Trey, it's a tremendous show, brother, and thank you to you for
Dr. Trey.
Together. You can't see it, Abbas. Yeah, I like that. We need to save that picture. Eddie's approach is best for top-level amateurs with a super cocky personality.
Ben Whitaker.
But the thing is, coming forward, I've got a bit of
boxer, isn't he?
I'm just saying that. It would be perfect.
I think from the get-go, I never understood why he took the boxer. Obviously, people kept saying because of the money was stupid. That's why. But for career-wise, I never understood why he took that. Eddie was a match made in heaven for Ben Whitaker. in my opinion, anyway.
The thing
American
is,
too. Go on.
sorry, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on. I was just going to read.
We've actually having a bit of experience in that side of it. I mean, I've been with some absolutely top class amateurs, and then I've been with some journeymen in the pros. If you don't have a backing, if you don't have that personality, you're really going to struggle to make it. I know some top class amateurs who've done ABA titles back to back to back, and because they can't sell a ticket or because they're not really good on the microphone, they don't get anywhere. So Eddie Earn's approach is a winner, really, isn't it? If you fit that bill, and like you lads have just said, then if Whittaker had been with Eddie, it'd have been a whole different story. It'd have been absolutely, it'd have been in your cornflakes. It'd have been that well known, mate, honestly. That'd have really fit into a team.
And I know we're diverting a bit quickly with Whittaker, but I will give Ben a bit of credit because he used to give him some over the top entrances that people appreciated. And so I'm sure once he came out to like the Dragon Ball Z stuff and stuff like that. So there is something there with, as much as people criticize Ben Shalom, he's given Whittaker his ability to go out there and do what he needs to do. I've just always said, like, Ben Whittaker for his division, he's got very soft hands at the highest of levels.
All right. We've got Frank's approach is better for a rough diamond in need of polishing. I agree with that. I do think Frank Warren, he's more likely to give a guy who is a good amateur but hasn't got a backing. He's more likely to give him a shout. This is why I like GBM. GBM have signed a lot of obviously Yorkshire fighters who hasn't been able to get that shout. So hopefully they can show out on Friday night. Eddie should outsource more prospects. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think doing that work for Terry Harper, allowing her to fight on this GBM show is perfect for her. And it's perfect for Matchroom. You're getting a fighter out there, a world champion out there. You don't need to pay her. GBM's paying her, and you've got your fighter. Trey says, love the boxing league, by the way, Ricky. Yeah, the boxing league. I didn't do so great this weekend. I think I got one.
CJ fucking rode home this weekend.
Yeah, CJ with 12 points this week.
17, I think. I think it was 17.
Was it 17?
Yeah. 17 points.
One more comment, CJ, and then we'll get into the big one.
And Saints, for example, may just be their ticket selling. Yeah, well, that's it. Saints really fits the bill, and he's coming from that top class amateur gym as well. Both men obviously came to fight. That was no doubt. Everything depends on how you sell, doesn't it? It really does. It opened my eyes coming into pro game as a trainer that it really doesn't make a difference how good you are. To be honest, it actually doesn't. If you can sell tickets, but you're an average or even just fringe domestic fighter, you're going to get your name pushed. And some kids come over, they're absolutely fantastic and they know what they're doing. And then you actually see, they're the kids that when you look on Box Rec later on in life and you think, oh, they're only a journeyman, but you look through them, the first 10 fights have been blasting people out of there. They're usually your amateur pedigree guys that couldn't sell tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So we'll go for the big one now. We're half an hour through the show. We'll spend a bit of time on this one. FishervAllen 2. Obviously going in to this one, Fisher the win over Allen in controversial fashion. I myself believe that Allen won that first fight. I think the whole panel believed that. I'm sure Abbas is in the same belief that that Allen won that first fight. Abbas, how did you have it going in before the second fight happened? How did you have it?
I'll be honest with you. I do my best to never fall into that trap, but I find myself falling into a trap where I look at the younger fighter who may have had an off day, and I'm just like, surely on the rematch, you will then deliver. And it was the same here. I was like, eventually he has to deliver, because obviously we know Dave Allen, very nice fighter, very nice guy it seems as well, but he, if anything, he always undersells himself. And at the end of the day, some of the fights he's had, he's come up short, and it's fine. Like, he knows his level, and he openly tells you his level himself. And I personally think, I'm going to say, I think I cursed Johnny Fisher, because up until the fourth round, like literally, Fisher's got this. He's got this. I'm like, yeah, he's got this. And then the fifth round came.
I wish I could get the message.
And then literally the fifth round comes, and every single person in the chat just said, "You have ultimately jinxed this man," to the point where he was knocked out, and he was knocked out very badly. But yeah, I mean, credit to Dave Allen. And do you know what? This is where that idea of having that experience comes in hand, because I believe there was an interview as well after the first fight. He said, "Look, I'm happy to do the rematch, but it's not a good fight for you. I am telling you, it's not a good fight for you." The money is going to be there because it gives them both the opportunity to headline. So you can't, at this point, you got to strike while the iron is hot. So I understand why they did the rematch when they did it. But right now, it is genuinely a conversation for Eddie and the team to be like, where do we go with Johnny Fisher? Because you can't rein him back after having, how many fights he had? 12, 30, 12
13 fights, I think.
You can't then pull back too much, because the scope of the fighters you now got to face are going to be way below the level where you will literally be on the undercard. You can't be headlining anymore, because funny enough, that one knockout, I think it was against Babic, if I'm not wrong, where it was in the first round, where everyone stood up and like, oh, okay. It kind of felt to his detriment, because since then it's like, now you've fallen back in the line. Where do you go with him? So there is a big sit back, remodel type of thing with him. But yeah, credit to David Allen, honestly. Like, he came in, he did a job. And when I rewatched it, yeah, I don't know what the first time I might have just been watching a bit of hype, because I understood afterwards when even Eddie said, he goes, at the end of the day, he was still walking him down. When you watch it back, you realize Dave Allen's in a lot more control in this fight than we probably think when you watch it live.
Yeah. The thing is with that fight was you could tell from the beginning, like how I had it, I thought that Johnny wouldn't be able to learn not to allow Dave to sit on his chest. I felt like as the fight went on, Dave would get to him, he'd get on his chest, and Johnny doesn't know how to block that overhand right from Dave. He struggled in the first fight, and I felt Dave would stop him. I went with my heart on this one. I was looking at the fight, and it, like you said, it's very easy. It's easy to say, I'm not going to fall into that trap, but it's very easy to say, you know what, the younger fighter can make a change. But I just felt like I don't see what difference. Johnny's not a boxer. He needs to fight. Johnny needs to fight you. The way he was beating Dave up in the first 3 rounds of the first fight was he stepped to Dave, and he was letting his shots go. He didn't have Dave on the he wasn't on the back foot having Dave at range. Dave was at range because Johnny was trying to walk him down, and he was letting his long shots go, which was catching Dave on the end of them. Whereas this fight started, and instantly Johnny started moving. And the moment he started moving backwards, I thought, why is he moving? You're moving way too much. It's uncomfortable for you. It's not your style. So why would you move so much? And Dave got to him a lot quicker than I thought he would. Even with that, I thought he'd go late and Johnny would tire out. Johnny tired himself out. The way he boxed early, he tired himself out with a nervous energy, because someone said, I'm not sure it might have been Libster last week, said, it might have been CJ's dad actually, who said, is Fisher going to be afraid of Dave Allen's shot because he's felt the punch now? Is he going to have figure? And it seemed that way, because instantly going on the back foot and trying to box at range when you're not a boxer tells me he didn't want to get hit by Dave. And it was a brilliant performance from Allen. Great stoppage. We've got how many stoppages of the year we're looking at so far in the last three weeks? How many big stoppages have there been? And for his career, where does he go there? I think it's the winner of TKV versus Adelaide is probably the right fight. I think he's a British level fighter, Dave. And it'd be nice for him to win a British title. He's tried before, he's come up short, but it would be nice for him to do that. Go on, one of you two. I don't know. Go on. There's chat.
Thank you, safe travel in advance. Yeah,
Thank you, brother.
It's
my sister. Thank you, brother.
I'm going to Barcelona tomorrow. I'll spread the word about this awesome podcast. Levster, thank you very much. We are worldwide now. We're just everywhere. You can't get rid of us.
Global.
Some may call us
Like
brash.
shit.
Like
flies on shit everywhere.
Ricky or CJ, how did you see this one?
You want to take it, Rick? I know you have a little white weight in your pants for Dave Allen. I'll let you go first if you want that.
Well, I will happily say I will take a little bit of humble herbs, sprinkle it all over our lass's homemade cheesecake, and I will eat that happily because I said I thought Johnny Fisher were going to win it, and I predicted Johnny Fisher to win it. I thought it was going to. you traitor. No, the reason I saw it, I thought that Sam Abbas falls into. So I thought, okay, now, treason. I just kind of thought, like Fisher wanted. I thought he'd learned from the first fight, and it looked like his game plan was he was going to start a bit slower. He was working his jab, was boxing on the back foot, and he was doing it effectively. But it was only a matter of time, like we saw, and we kept seeing Dave Allen just keeps marching forward. And the one thing I just felt like Fisher did not work on was his inside game. It's like he cannot box on the inside, and that's going to be a big problem for him up against smaller heavyweights. I just thought he'd have learned from that. But credit to Dave Allen because I wanted Dave Allen to win. My heart, like I really wanted him to do the work. And the only problem is with Dave Allen is we've had this point where like he's really turned a corner now, and then it doesn't sort of turn up in the fight. But this time, like, he came in a bit heavier. It was a bit fitter, but a bit heavier. And I just kind of thought he was going for like we said, that big over and right. He was in there to knock him out. He knew he weren't going to get it on the scorecards. So he was there to do one thing and one thing only, that would knock him on his ass. And he did that, and it was a cold finish as well. Like Fisher's face on them ropes is like oh, and then. As Wu-Tang say, protect your neck because that uppercut to the neck as well, like finished it off for me. But it was one of those. It was a good. Yeah, it was a good fit. Oh, because if it was chin, mate, he'd have been gone. Like,
yeah,
he'd have been gone. It was a great finish by Dave Allen. Like I said, probably like another contender for knockout of the year. Big. I'm really happy for him. What, like you said, is I'd like to see what the rebuilding process would be for Fisher. Would they? See, I wouldn't go for a trilogy because everybody knows I don't give a shit what those commentators said on the show last weekend. Nobody thought Fisher won that fight. Nobody in the right mind who was scoring that fight thought Fisher won that first fight. He was winning on the cards. He was up on the cards up until the fifth, and we can all agree on that. But after that, it was dancing on ice all the way through it. And I'm happy for Dave Allen to see him put that to bed. I like the Adelaide TKV fight. I don't know if that Intercontinental belt gets him a bigger fight after that. I don't know. There's some good fights for Dave Allen. At 33, though, he needs to move pretty quickly. Fisher, I don't know. Chuck him in with somebody like maybe Dillian White or something like that just to see how he fares. But I don't know where he goes from here. He's only 26, 27, so he's still early. He can rebuild. I don't know what he does, though, or where he goes from. Like I say, I don't think he'll be main eventing.
Funny enough, I feel like Dave Allen's route could be a Dillian White type of fight. Personally, I feel like they could do something like that because, like I said, he undersells himself. And I just think that's a potential route or a fight that can be there to be made for him. And again, it goes back to that thing of how much do the titles hold value versus the name value that you fight at the age that you are. And I feel like Dillian White, for somebody who may not necessarily watch boxing, if you say to him he's fighting, people will probably tune in just a bit more than if you turn around and say a British heavyweight title fight is happening between two guys who they may not necessarily know. They may actually know Dave Allen now, but again, that comes off the back of beating Johnny Fisher. But they may not know David Adelaide or anybody else. So I feel like money-wise and the name value, Dillian White may hold that better for Dave Allen right now.
The thing is, the only way I know Dave wants that British title. He wants that British title. He always wanted that British title.
Fair enough.
So I can see that. But the Dillian White shout isn't a bad shout because I believe Dave could win that fight. Dillian's legs against Tete, how he looked against Tete. If you put that Dillian White who fought that fight against Dave Allen, he gets stopped because his legs wasn't right at all. I don't know if he had a bad camp or whatever it was. He looked dreadful in that particular
Off at
fight.
juice.
Well, yeah, he looked dreadful in that particular fight. So for me, I think it depends on what Dave wants out of the game. He loves boxing. Clearly, he's not in the mood to retire by all accounts, as it seems like he's in a good place. I think going for the British title because British level is his level at the end of the day. If you want to achieve something in the sport and this level is your level, winning a British title, you're never forgotten. So, you know what I mean? The Dillian White fight, you fought Dillian White before. It's nothing you haven't done before. Does it get you a bit more money? Yeah, but I don't think Dave's the kind of guy that's chasing money. I don't think he's about money. Dave's he's had the money, he's got bored and ended up in trouble with the money. You know what I mean? So I think right now it's more about making memories and stamping himself in boxing and showing that he was actually always a good boxer. He just didn't take it seriously. Go on, CJ.
Right, girls, strap into your seats because we're about to drop some bombs here. Let me just hold on to the Pat Butcher earrings because they keep falling out of my ears and I don't know what's going on. So, the Fisher rebuild, for those who are saying number 3, you're out of your mind and there's nothing worse for his career right now. I don't think that fight will ever get made. I know Eddie Hearn made some noise about it when he was interviewing Dave at the end. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on both sides, that. Now, Johnny Fisher for the rebuild. I like Johnny Fisher. Dave Allen even made that comment of we are friends, we're friends going into it, we'll be friends after it. He can't be pussyfooting around now with another journeyman for the rebuild. He needs to get back in there and he needs to take out a big name. The names, someone like Joe Joyce, and that's a dangerous fight. But it's got to be someone like that. It's got to be a name who's on the decline, so he can do a vicious knockout and put his name back up there. Otherwise, there is no more Johnny Fisher in domestic scene for me, unfortunately. Dave Allen, for anybody who don't know, I don't know how much you've followed his career or know his career. I wouldn't ever want to teach you to suck eggs. If anyone doesn't know much about him, I'd plead anyone to listen to First Round TV. Darren Barker just did an interview with him, and it actually just gives a short thing of his career, how much money he's earned, how much money he's lost through gambling, the fights he's taken on at 2 weeks' notice, the fights that he's had notice for and then trained maybe 3 days for. It's an unbelievable career of ups and downs that he's had. So when you actually know the stuff like that, that's what makes this win that little bit sweeter. That he proved everything wrong. For Dave, it is the British title. I think that's what he's always wanted. He's always wanted their title anyway, but to have that British would be fantastic. So for him to get a hold of the winner of TKV and David Adelaide, that would be what he wants, I think. And I think he's more than capable to deal with both guys on the night. Oh, there they are, my favourite guys right there. But yeah, that's the British. The good thing with the British domestic scene, heavyweights, is that there is plenty of names to go at. And there again, these are guys who are, what would you call them, fringe world level? I mean, some of them have had some shady careers. I mean, Shah and
you think we can chuck Fisher in it with any of these guys?
I think Fisher would get rid of Cash Ali.
Yes.
Huey's an odd customer, I'll say.
Because he moves, but he also doesn't have a gas tank. He doesn't have a gas tank.
No. What about Charles Martin there? How would you reckon he's faring?
Yeah, I think any of those names, to be quite honest with you, for Fisher, like CJ said, I think putting him back in there with a name, putting him in there with a journeyman isn't going to do anything for him because all people's going to do is it's going to get people's back up because they're going to be like, oh, you shoved this kid down our throat saying he was this, he was that. He now loses. Now he's in fights no one cares about. What's going on? I think putting Fisher isn't a bad fighter. The Dave Allen loss looks bad simply because of the optics of what happened in the first fight and all this lot. Fisher losing to Allen at British level. Fisher is a British level fighter. Okay, if you want to go European and start fighting the world level fighters or fringe world level fighters, I think any of those names on there, a Dempsey McKean people know. I think a Charles Martin, a Cash Ali, Joe Joyce went back. Joe Joyce went back to a Cash Ali. You know what I mean? You're not big enough to not to fight a Cash Ali at the end of the day. A Huey Fury, a Gerald Washington. I think any of those names for Fisher, and people won't have an issue with it. I certainly wouldn't have an issue with Fisher fighting any of them names.
I have a question for you guys, just quickly, because you mentioned Joe Joyce. He's got a granite chin on him that we all know. If that fight happens, for people to be impressed with Johnny Fisher, does he have to knock him out? Because, like I said, because Joe Joyce has such a granite chin on him, it's very hard to actually knock him out.
I think he needs to drop him at least, because Chisora did. Because Chisora managed to drop him, I feel like a 26-year-old Johnny Fisher should be able to at least drop him. If he drops him and then Joe Joyce, we know how tough he is. He's not going to get. Yeah, I mean, we saw how many shots he took off Ergovic. You know what I mean? Clean shots. So if he doesn't get him out of there, I have no issue. But he does need to at least hurt him or drop him and show that you are dominant in this fight. At least it needs to be one of those fights where you're landing your big shots, but for some reason this guy isn't going down. People can let you off for that because they can see that you're not gun shy, for one. For two, you are landing the big shots. You're boxing well. That's what people look at it against the Joe Joyce, because we all know that guy doesn't get stopped easily.
Joe, you 100% like echo that of the at least dropping Joe Joyce. But I think if Johnny Fisher went the distance with Joe Joyce, if Johnny Fisher went the distance with Joe Joyce, that'd be fantastic for his career as well, because he's seasoned Joe Joyce in and he's got an engine. Yeah. I mean, he might be slow, but he's like a steam train and he does not stop and he's chugging away all the time. That would impress me as well if he managed to outpoint him.
Yeah, Johnny's engine as well. He needs to work on his engine. He really needs to work on his engine as well.
I'm going to say that's the dangerous point in that fight, because Fisher's gassing after 5 rounds. Joe Joyce is a big puncher. He's got a granite chin, but he's also got a granite right hand. And I just think Joe Joyce is a very capable boxer. Yeah, he is slow, but we have seen, obviously, Dave Allen's not the quickest. So if Dave Allen can do that to Fisher, Joe Joyce probably, for me, may even punch harder than Allen. So it's a case of that's a dangerous fight. But like you say, if he's going to rebuild effectively, he's been shoved down his throat. So he needs to have these fights. Who would you like to see him in with next? Are we saying Joe Joyce? What is David Chisora too dangerous or not enough for payday?
Nah, Chisora's
looking at one thing only.
Yeah. Chisora,
world title.
He's about. Yeah. This is supposed to be his second last. His last fight.
His last.
This is supposed to be his last dance. But yeah, Fisher, he's out of the race for that. I don't even think a win over Dave Allen would have got him a Derek Chisora fight anyway. So a Chisora fight's out of the window. Even a Dillian White fight is out of the window, in my opinion. I think, like I said, any names on there, maybe a Jared Anderson, because Jared Anderson hasn't been looking great. Do you chuck those two in there with each other? I don't know. It depends on what you want, because they're both young. They're both 26 years old. I think they're both around 20. Jared Anderson's 24. Fisher's 26. I don't know if you chuck those two in there with each other, but like I said, Fisher needs to fight a name. As long as he fights a name, puts up a good performance, people will be back on the hype train. Because at the end of the day, I say a hype train, the guy has a fan base. It's not a hype train, he has a fan base. So it's not as if he's going away anytime soon. I think the way to rebuild his career is put him back in the fire with someone with a name at least. Who's on? Go on.
Sorry, man. Just to jump on that, because the American side of it, and chucking names in there. Would you think Frank Sanchez is far too dangerous for Johnny still, or did you think he was a bit overrated?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you think Frank Sanchez could be a name for Johnny Fisher, or do you think he's too dangerous?
I wouldn't put personally Johnny Fisher with any American right now.
Okay.
The reason being is I look at Johnny Fisher, I'm like, you need to, and this goes to that point about fighting on cards that you don't need to be on. I think when you bring in Americans over, they're not going to fight on your undercard. Johnny Fisher, if we're talking right now where we can't have you headline, where you need to be in the middle of a pack, to then bring an American over and sell them that outside of the ring association or a Riyadh association is going to be difficult. For me, when I look at Johnny Fisher, I think you guys have nailed it. I think George Joyce is probably that name. The only problem is, again, it'll go back to that conversation we'll then have after the fight potentially, where it's like, if George Joyce gets hurt in that fight, we need to then, it's that thing of stopping a fighter from themselves. And it'll be like, why did we put George Joyce in with Johnny Fisher, who's younger, hungrier, quicker, needs a point to prove, etc. It is interesting. For me, like I said, if you guys are saying what you're saying about the British title, which is fine, for Dave Allen, I think it's got to be Dillian White, even though I think Dillian White's scheduled to fight on the undercard.
Undercard of Ipswich, the Ipswich card.
So see what happens from there. What are we? How far are we from Usyk and Dubois? That's in July.
Yeah, July 19th. Usyk,
so
Dubois.
We got 2 months, not necessarily enough time, or is it?
Nah.
What about Reakpa for Fisher?
He's just moved up. Yeah, he's just moved up.
And he's just fought, so the timeline fits. For me, Fisher needs to get off that British scene first. He has to beat some credible British opponents before, like you say, start moving them on to America.
What about the loser of TKV versus Adelaide? The winner gets Allen. The loser gets Fisher.
King of the ring.
So you're saying Fisher TKV and Dave Allen versus Dave Allen.
When is that fight scheduled?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure when it's scheduled. I'll have to check up on that.
I think Dave Allen beats those both at TKV and Adelaide.
Because realistically, you don't want to do it where you're waiting too long. It's not like Johnny Fisher is a fighter that can allow himself to fight twice in a year type of thing. Even though he may do, if that makes sense. But if you want to try to get back, you want to get something more in the motion where people remember you and stuff like that. And you don't want to fade away compared to others. Like you guys said, though, he does have a core following. And you guys were talking about it before when it comes to fighters being able to sell tickets. Johnny Fisher does have that regardless of the losses, but you do want to still be there. But I don't know if he headlines. That's the only thing I'll say. I don't know if he's got the capability right now to headline. But then you then have to find a slot on a domestic card that I don't know where Eddie Hearn puts him, because I don't know how many domestic cards Eddie Hearn's really got that interest people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, although if it was something like Tracy and King of the Ring. Sorry, go on.
No, as Abba said that about promotion, what do you think they can do differently to start promoting these British guys and start promoting these shows better? Because it seems like Eddie seems to be saving guys for the 5v5, and his cards are one-sided now. He's sort of gone back to what he was slating Frank for. When you got a Queensberry card, when you got a Queensberry card, what you used to get was, it's all A sides, the B sides are obvious. You go down the show, knockout after knockout after knockout after knockout, and that's it. There's no competitive fight. And Matchroom are starting to do that now. They're not promoting these guys, the shows. The shows are just waiting for DAZN. DAZN seems to just be posting it, and that's it. There's no promotion from Matchroom. There's no press. The press conferences are dull now as well. A lot of the press conferences are very dull. The cards aren't stacked. No, the cards aren't stacked. The fights have been the fights luckily have been entertaining, but like you said to the casual fan, you're not pulling them in. You're not pulling them in to watch that card. The fights happen to be good in the end, which is all well and good, but there's nothing there to pull us in. What do you think they can do?
I think me and Ricky touched on this not long since, it might have been on the phone, not on the show. Is it's probably a bad example of it, but what he's done this weekend is what he needs to do. So it was sort of an unsaid thing of the winner of Liddard, the winner of Liddard's opponent and Conway with Warburton, that was an eliminator to fight each other. And as much as that's probably a poor example because it was sort of, we already knew what was going to happen. I think more of that needs to happen. We've got so many fighters at the same level. Perfect to use it for this heavyweight one. The TKV, Adelaide, Allen, and Fisher all in the same boat there, matrixing them, winners versus winners, losers versus losers, things like that. But actually mentioning that and publicising that might be a better way for it to go. And then everyone knows the routes that they're going. Everyone then gets excited, then thinking, "Oh well, Adelaide just beat TKV. That means he's going to fight the winner of FishervAllen." Do you know what I mean? Things like that. That might be a better way to go.
Yeah, I feel. Go on, Abbas, and then I'll say what I thought.
For me, and again, there's nothing wrong with this because I understand it's a business. I just look at Matthew and I'm like, your eggs are in baskets that you probably enjoy to expand in more. Obviously, like you look at George Kambosos, and to Ray's credit, he says something along the lines of he's the best fighter who's just capitalized on the moment and just ran with it. Over in Australia, he does what he needs to do, and Eddie's got his people there. When you look at America with Boots and Shakur, even though that Shakur fight deal, we knew it was going to be super limited, but it's names, that name value that he's got there, and he's able to expand, go to that market, check that market out. And it's kind of just a case of, here you go, Frank. You can have the UK market. It's not a problem. I've done what I've needed to do. My cash cow is Anthony Joshua, and I know when that time comes, I'm gonna be able to reclaim any money that I may have lost on UK shows or may not have made when I make that AJ Tyson Fury fight. So that it's just probably a case of, look, Matchroom just want to test the waters. Obviously, we saw the reaction when it came to Boots, and when he signed, and it was like, whoa. And it wasn't like when Shakur signed, I think a lot of people knew that the fight deal wasn't going to be there for a while. When you look at when Boots signed, it was like, okay, Eddie might have his American guy there and for the long term. So I do think it is a bit of exploring other markets. The other thing is you've moved away from UK television to being on the app. And that app is a universal international app. So you want to then also put shows on that target different markets, which when that happened, there was that year or so period where Frank Warren and TNT had left, and everyone gravitate towards Frank Warren shows for that 1 year because it was on television. It wasn't behind a paywall or an app or anything like that. So I think there is a combination of the fact that Matchroom does have its feet in different markets that they probably want to explore a bit more, and their main cash cow has one fight left on his career, which is Anthony Joshua, and they know that themselves, and they're just waiting, and they're not too worried about that. Saying that, I will say again, we were talking about it off air when it comes to certain fighters being followed and stuff, me and Eric. When you look at certain cards, like I always say, boxers do this well, but now they've tried to navigate where the guys they had before, they're individually on the card. So when you used to have Ben Waker on a card, Adam Azim on a card, Fraser Clark, Caroline Dubois, it was always a case of you knew these 4 or 5 guys were on that same card. And now obviously they're trying to put themselves in individual star pools. I'll say Matchroom do that with Shabazz Masood a bit. So you've got him on the card, under Emila Hamza Uddin, under Emila Ibrahim Spider. So there's a core following of these guys that will come from fight 1 to fight end, and it will continue to build that atmosphere. So I do think they still have that, but I just think they've got their hands in other pies. They want to try and see what the other markets are showing, and they probably are a bit more successful. Plus, we know how much Eddie riles up the Americans anyway, and he loves doing that.
Yeah. The Americans can't stand it. I think British boxing at this point, because of how many good fighters there are in the divisions, we could do with a Super Six tournament in most of these divisions. I think that's what would benefit British boxing the most at this moment. Get a Super Six tournament in each division, because every division at the moment seems to be stacked in Britain. Every division, and it's clear to see like the guys who are fringe world level at the moment, like a little bit better than British level, fringe world level. I think they would do better for their marketing if they was in a Super Six tournament with the British level guys, because then there's eyes on that tournament. If you are that best guy or you feel like you should be at world level, then you should be able to beat these guys. A tournament always does that. You look at the boxing series, that Muhammad Ali trophy, everyone gravitated to that. That was really good. So I think British boxing, even the 5v5, what they did, that's sort of like a tournament style thing, what they did. I think British boxing now, and if hopefully Frank can do it, I think Frank and Eddie can sort out a tournament, because it's both of those two who's got the main fighters in those divisions at the moment. I know Ben's got some as well, but if Ben wants to put his fighters in there, that's fine. But instead of just the 5v5s, I think it should be a tournament base. Queensberry and Matchroom can work together outside of Turkey Al-Sheikh and make a British tournament, and it's for the British title. Each weight division is the British title at the end of it. I think that would be perfect. Yeah, I think that would be perfect.
My only thing is, sorry, I was just going to say, it's very hard to watch boxing, if that makes sense. Like, I have to buy DAZN specifically to be able to watch boxing, whereas previous was like, I've got Sky Sports, I can watch football on there, I can watch cricket, I can watch this. Oh wait, there's boxing. So to get DAZN, you have to be a thoroughbred boxing fan. And I think that's the problem. I think what we're realizing now is, previously in the past, we would have had people who would have watched boxing simply because it was on their TV screens, and it's fine. Now you're in a position where the people that are genuinely going to watch it have to be real fans. They're not going to be fans that you're going to be able to pick up or say to your friends, "Yo, do you want to watch this card? By the way, you got to pay £30 a month for it, and try to cancel it, and it's impossible to do." Whereas previously it was like, "Oh, it's on Sky Sports, by the way, 7 o'clock kicks off. Watch the card through, see what you think." You don't get that anymore. I think that is a bit of an issue. Obviously, when the real season cards, that's a completely different ballgame. But to be able to tune in for a Matchroom card, a Queensberry card, you have to pay that £30 per month, and then think, okay, now I've got to force myself to sit and watch from 7 to 10 or 11 o'clock, because I've paid that.
And then there's pay-per-views. And then pay-per-views. Libster says, need to promote boxing more unless you enjoy boxing. People outside of the sport only watch the big fights, which the big names and promotion. It's 100% right. It does need to be on more accessible. Boxing seems to be the only sport that's not accessible in that way. Especially in Britain at the moment. You've got Sky Sports, but then that looks like that's going. They're on the way out of boxing, it seems. I'd love to see GBM take over that Sky Sports, but they're on DAZN, so I can't see that happening.
It's one of those. It's one of those where we touched on, isn't it? I think it was like after the Frank Warren show, we were talking about like how the Turkey money has been good for boxing in regards to the big fights. It's been great to get these guys actually in the ring with each other. You know, you better behave, your Bivals, your now Canelos, Crawfords, and all those Usyks and Furies. But the regional scene, the British scene, sort of small hall shows started to suffer, especially promotional wise. Like these fights used to be promoted pretty well. And I were going to touch base on, but you've already mentioned it, Eric, like introducing tournaments again, like for the British levels, get a proper British ranking system going as well, because I can't find anything, and used to have these British rankings. Get more feel and more love back into British boxing, because that's where it is. It begins at home in the heart of the country where we grow up watching boxing. We grew up watching all these British level fighters, Rendell Munro, Junior Witter, all these fighters that nobody will ever hear of anymore. Jason Too Smooth Boo and all them guys. And I used to watch these guys on a Saturday night, like Saturday night fight night. And I used to absolutely love it. Sit there with my brother. We'd sit there and watch boxing all night long. And it will, and you know, you had your Channel 5s. I think they do have a show coming up soon. Like, but even Eubank Jr. used to be on like Channel 5, like free TV.
Okay.
And it was good to watch. Like it was good to see the British scene. And we do need that back. Like it's nice to have all these big mega fights, but we don't need them all the time. We do need to like build our scene back up again, because it's suffering, and I don't want it to suffer. These younger fighters, that's probably why there's not much as active, and they're all waiting out, like Abba says, to get on these bigger shows, these Turkey shows, because they're getting paid more. Why would they not want to do that? But I just think get some more small hall type fights going, be more active in that scene. And if it's not Eddie that wants to do that anymore, that's fine. But for me, after this weekend, it's proven to me that he may need to rebuild that side if he actually wants to have a chance at being competitive in it again. But like I say, I think he's now more focused on those American fighters. So it'll be time for Warren to swoop in again. GBM, Boxer, they're all going to be up and coming now. GBM's up and coming, but they're doing good. They're doing a good job with these more regional fighters and people that will sell tickets well for like local shows. And it's good. It's good having these big fights, but I'm more of a purist. I love the home shows, and I think CJ is in agreement with that one as well. I think.
Absolutely, mate. No, 100%, 100%. Do you know what as well? Even maybe a bit more airtime for small hall shows. I mean, that's where careers are made. That's where talent's originally spotted in there. Literally, small hall shows, small city shows. There is no airtime to these. I know you can watch them on YouTube and streaming and stuff like that, but a lot of heroes and some fighters don't make it out small hall fighting, and they've had a fantastic career. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways promotion can up its game. There's a lot of different ways. The big companies, these guys, the boxers, anyone else, that they can do more, right down to grassroots, and that's where it needs to go. That's echoing Libster's comments there. Like, there's so much more that needs to be done to save boxing, if you like, to get more people involved. As much as some people hate to admit it, it might be a different angle to look at it. The YouTube scene of Misfits and all this, it brought a different crowd to watch boxing. For right or for wrong, there's some absolute tits that have come to the scene in boxing now, but it's brought a whole new system to it. It's brought a whole new spectrum of how to look at fighting. It's things like that boxing actually needs to start looking at how to get more people involved.
Yeah, they need to, like I said, what 2000 after the Olympics, 2012 Olympics, like Eddie was taking his fighters to the hometown all the time. It wasn't a case of a special occasion. He was marketing his fighters to their home crowd, and on their home crowd fight, it would be all those fighters from that area. On that card, it would be packed out, and those guys got support that way. Throwing them on a card in Liverpool where nobody knows half of them, no one really cares. Throwing them on a card in London, nobody really cares. They need to go back to promoting guys who they've got, like you said, Abbas, with Hamza Dean. Promote them with those guys so they can get a following. You need to be on the same card as those guys so you can get a following, you can build a base, and you've got 4 or 5 guys from the same area building together, rather than just having one guy going, right, we'll take you to your hometown. Who else we got to put on the card? There's hardly anybody there, and the fighters you are going to put on the card from there, nobody knows them. Nobody knows them at the time. You need to build 3, 4, 5 fighters from the same area at the same time so you can get the fan bases coming out. You can get the support for the boxers. But for these just finding, like you said, Abbas, Eddie's gone Eddie's Hollywood right now. He seems to have gone Hollywood where you know the time for, he's given all these smaller shows what he's doing. He's given them to Frank Smith. You could tell. You can sort of tell he's handed him off to Frank Smith. You can tell
you're
the different.
Not wrong, because I think there was a show in Monaco. I think he went back to back. Eddie might have gone back to back, and I think I want to say Frank Smith was in the UK and he was out in Monaco. And it makes sense. Like, you're the boss. Why not go down to Monaco instead
Mm.
of being here in the UK? But I do want to say your point, Ricky, about watching boxing. So I always say the first fighter I grew up watching was Amir Khan. I probably would have, I don't know how old I was in '04 when he won. But guess where I was watching him? ITV. I was too young to be able to stay up till 10 o'clock, but I found a way to watch him, and then I'd go to sleep, or I'd watch Match of the Day without my mum knowing. But the whole point was I was watching ITV
Yeah.
boxing for Amir Khan, and I
Yeah.
followed it, and then even when he transitioned over to Sky and he got knocked out against Braden Prescott, guess what? I got Sky because I had
Yeah.
followed him earlier on when I was able to watch him for free, and I think that's because of how grand boxing is, or just how grand sports are, you could say. It's very hard again to put a fighter on free TV or on ITV or Channel 5 and get a following. It's very difficult now to do what was done in the past. But I do think the zone, I love it. I've got nothing against it. I've got nothing against Turkey or anything like that. But I do think what it has done, unfortunately, by classing itself as the home of boxing, it's basically said everyone needs to be on that platform, and everyone slowly is transitioning over there. The only thing that we get now, if you think about it, is a boxer card and then Top Rank on Sky Sports. There is actually no boxing. Yes, you get the Wasserman stuff when it comes to Channel 5, but if you really think about it, there's no boxing either from America or in the UK that is available to you on TNT at all. There's nothing there. Sky will give you that, and that's about it. There's nothing else compared to 10 to 12 years ago where you had everyone still on TV.
Yeah, it seems to. I was always an advocate for the promoters being at one place, what at one destination, so we don't have to pay. At the end of the day, you still have to pay. And obviously, Sky's ridiculous. The amount of money you pay for Sky is stupid. The amount of money for Sky, and there's hardly anything I watch on the thing. You know what I mean? The boxing which I enjoy, I can't even watch it because the fights. You mean but when does Boxer do a show at the moment? And who has Boxer got? You know what I mean? That really interests you.
Is it
So
June for their next show? Is that their next show, the June one? Simpson.
no, is that
Callum
June?
Simpson.
Yeah. That is that June the 7th? Yeah, June the 7th, I think it is.
June, yeah. I think that's their next
Yeah.
show.
But as I was saying, I think boxing as a whole being on DAZN, fair enough. But then DAZN was built as it was the home of boxing. No pay-per-views. You paid your price. You was on DAZN, and that was it. Then Then the prices went up time after time after time after time, and then now we've got pay-per-views. We've not only got to pay more for the zone, we've now got pay-per-views. And with Turkey, like you said, Abbas, I've got nothing against Turkey. The fights I want to see and the competitive fights are happening. I don't mind that. And the names are fighting each other. I don't mind that bit. But every week, every other weekend is pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. You can't do that to boxing fans. Football fans, like Libster said, football fans, you get to watch football on normal TV. Sometimes you won't get the game straight away, 3 o'clock kickoffs, but you can get them at 10 o'clock at night. You've got your action there. You've got all whatever you've got football. You can watch that on normal TV. You've got your Sunday kickoffs. Boxing is hidden in a corner on a platform you have to pay for, and not only you have to pay for that platform. Once you pay for that platform, you might need to pay for the fight as well, just for that one fight. Boxing fans are the only people that get ripped off so much. It's crazy.
Bring back £2 DAZN. Bring back £2 DAZN. Canelo Triple
£1.99 a
G.
month.
Yeah, I think it was Canelo Triple G when they debuted it, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
bring that back. That was good stuff.
No. Right, we've done 1 hour 15 minutes into the show. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Really, I lost my words there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We've had 40 people live tuning in, and we appreciate the viewership. Abbas, appreciate you coming through on this one with us to chop it up. Abbas works with us at iBoxingHub, goes to a lot of the shows. I don't know how he does it, how he gets from up and down the country. I do not know how he does it, but he does it.
I will say this: when I landed from Vegas from WrestleMania, I promise you that stretch of 5 days traveling to London hurt me a lot. Like I was tired. I was just driving back on the M6, like, yeah, we got this. No, we ain't got this. Let's just pull over somewhere.
Red Bull's got wings.
Yeah, I needed the Red Bull for that one.
Oh God! No, but you could. Everyone, if you want to check Abbas out, he is tagged to this video on YouTube and on Twitter. So if you want to go check his stuff out, his interviews, Abbas manages to get into places nobody else can get into.
Can I ask you guys a
invisible
question?
cloak?
I'm just going to ask you guys one question, and I hope it's the right answer. Canelo or Crawford? Just
Canelo.
Listen, I can never bet against Crawford.
Canelo's going to smoke him.
Thank you. Ricky's got the right answer.
I can't bet against Crawford.
CJ, come on, CJ.
Listen,
you know.
No, remember what I said last week. So, obviously, you wasn't here. I said last week, when I have favourite fighters, don't ask me about their fights. Because
CJ, who's winning?
I have no answer
Canelo.
for you.
Canelo hands down.
Canelo should win this fight. I love Bud, and if anybody can do it, I hope it can be him.
I will say this: when that fight is happening, one, I hope to be in Vegas, but if I'm not, I will be on every single show. I would have my first ever Mexican flag, and I will do everything to let everyone know Canelo Alvarez is the greatest boxer ever.
Oh God. No, but well, we'll see you then. But we'll see you before then, I'm sure. Abbas, you're more than welcome to join us when you're free. But we appreciate you coming through. Ricky, you have any last words?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you like what you've seen, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that joined in with the Boxing League. CJ smashed it. Thank you to the newcomer Craig. I think it was Craig Ranskill. Appreciate you joining in. Season 2 will start in July, so it'll be a level playing field again after that. So keep tuning in. Abbas is going to join very soon. I'm sure he will.
That's when I'm joining season 2.
But yeah, also, if you like what you see on iBoxingHub, there are other shows. There's Stay Away in with your man Abbas up there and Ray. There's the Roundup with Trey and Abianga, isn't it? It's Abianga. Something. It is Abianga anyway. Yeah, I'm sure it's like that. But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys. For those who are watching us live now, for those that are going to tune in eventually, catch us on YouTube or whatever, those who are watching us on Twitter, we really appreciate it. We can't do it without you guys. Sorry, I've been playing with my ears like Pat Butcher's earrings. I cannot get this. I've absolutely loved the show. It's been really good to have Abbas on, get a bit of a different take on things. And then this back end of the show has explored something completely different. So yeah, if you guys are into this, just echoing Ricky, like it, subscribe it. I have no idea what else you do. Tweet it, flick it, TikTok it, whatever you can do.
Flick it.
I want to retire and then I can just do this and then I can buy headphones that fit me. So yeah, help me live my dream. Says the guy in Turkey right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Says the only guy here on fucking holiday.
We'll go with you with the last word, Abbas. Any last words from you, brother?
For me, just appreciate you guys for letting me jump on. And you know what? I always like a show where I learn something. I never learn anything when I'm speaking with Ray, but this is the first time I've learned something. So I appreciate you guys, obviously. And like I said, I know you guys are out for your first show as well on Friday. So go ahead, smash it, enjoy it. And if you say I can get into places where no one else can, so can you guys. So just go and do what you need to do, boys.
And I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Abbas, Ricky, CJ, as usual. We'll see you on Thursday. Before I leave, before I forgot, Thursday, we are going earlier on Thursday, 8 p.m. Start on Thursday. Hopefully, we can have a good surprise for you, and we'll tell you the reasons why we're going early on Thursday. So be there 8 o'clock on Thursday. It should be a brilliant show. So see you then.
Be there.
Peace.
Or be square.
It's another band. All the Muslim cars now, whichever get up. I talk my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flicks me a bag by it. Say, oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.